Thank you so much for doing this. I think this is the most
everyone.
important.
Thank you.
This is the
How are we
most
doing?
important conversation, which is about money. At the end of the day, let me start by saying that, in general, the way films are financed hasn't materially changed in the last 60 years. Do you see, with the work that you are doing and the work that you are doing, Miguel, actual changes? How big? What's the impact? And are you the guys that are breaking the old mold in this sense?
We're breaking it. That's us. Yes. Hi, everyone. Hey, how are you doing? Should I quickly just explain a bit more about Republic? Sure. And I know Miguel for a long time, so we're all friends here, and obviously know you as well. So for those of you that don't know, Republic is a platform that allows everyday fans to invest in film. So it's not crowdfunding, which are like essentially donations. It's crowd investing. We have the securities licenses to allow unaccredited retail investors to invest in these previously inaccessible asset classes. So Republic has a community of 3 million users who invested $2.5 billion into tech, startup, real estate, gaming, venture startups. And now we're doing that for film. The only two ways to make a movie are the people on the yachts outside and the predatory studio deals. Now if you have a community, a fan base, you can invite them in and they can co-own equity and upside with you. And that obviously is really cool for the whole flywheel and revenue model, because the more you get to make your film independently, you have more control, you have more leverage when you go to sell your film. And it does better because you have this whole army of fan evangelists who are invested in the success of the film. So that's what we do. And then we do the blockchain underpinning about that. It's not crypto, it's not NFTs, not or fart coins or things like that. It's legal securities, and they have blockchain underpinnings so that we can basically trade your share in a film on a secondary market. So it is a bit it's more securities than anything else. Of course, there's you can have NFTs and utility tokens as part of that ecosystem. We love that, but the securities underpinning is really the innovation about Republic Film. And so the question, I need to hand it over to Miguel, but what was the question?
Before you do that, let me just follow up on that. What really is the problem with the traditional way of film financing? Why is it breaking down?
Well, kind of the only two ways to make the film are you can go and get your private investors, and that's great if you can, but that's not always available. And then if you do sell your film to a studio or a film or development, they often take all of your IP and back end. Increasingly, you have less leverage, especially with the consolidation of the film industry. And this is like kind of a third new way to also make the film do better. You have a built-in army of investors who are going to market your film. Look at Markiplier. I think that's where sort of a new model is going, to create more efficiencies, where you have a fan base calling up the cinemas, telling them to screen the film. You have less middlemen, distributors in the middle. You have less P&A necessary because people are knocking on doors, and you've just got one sort of creator, influencer, or filmmaker telling his audience, go see the film. And there's just a larger pathway to net profits. So there's a lot of innovation happening in this new kind of flywheel.
Okay.
A lot of the things I talked about, Miguel does. So Miguel, sorry.
Miguel, let me come to what Miguel does. How did it work with your movie? Explain to us the whole process. How did you raise? How much did you raise? What did people get in return? How easy was it? How difficult was it? Did you manage to do what you wanted to achieve?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Miguel Faus. I'm a writer, director, and producer from Barcelona. And I always dreamed of making movies. And then basically I made a short film called Calladita that was quite successful and was sold to HBO and had a very good festival run. And I wanted to turn that Calladita into my first feature that would have the same title. But I tried to finance it and produce it in all the traditional ways in which indie films are made in Spain, but I found nothing but closed doors and an opaque system that wouldn't even give me feedback on why the doors were closed. And I was bumping against walls all day, as many struggling filmmakers know, that feeling. And suddenly I decided to try my own way and crack a window instead. And I set up a system whereby I created a website where I was selling NFTs of my short film. They were still frames of the short film, and people would log into my website, and donate money for me to make the movie, and in exchange they would get an NFT as the main reward of their donation. So it was pretty similar to a Kickstarter campaign, with the difference that it was all done with crypto on the blockchain, and the reward was instantaneous, which is also very fun, compared to Kickstarter, where you donate $50 or whatever, and you have to wait possibly a year or more, or maybe you never get your reward. Whereas in my case, the reward was a still frame of the short film that was instantaneously delivered to your crypto wallet. And but yeah, it's different from Republic because and actually I wanted to do something like what Republic is offering filmmakers now from the start. I thought that was an amazing model to be able to invite fans of the movie to become co-owners and have a little share in the revenue of the movie. But at the time when I was doing this, and even now probably, that's not really possible to do in the way that I wanted to do it, which was basically selling NFTs directly to people and then having those NFTs represent the stake in the movie. But Republic offers something that is close enough that I think is great. But it's a big thing, the difference between getting donations to make your movie. That worked for me in my case, and I can talk a little more about this in a second, but really it's hard to make it a sustainable model because you need a huge fan base, basically. In my case, I had 680 donors from all around the world, and in total I raised 750 grand, so that allowed me to make the movie, but I am aware that that was a crazy exception. There's only basically 2 fiction movies in the world that have been financed the same way that Calladita was financed. The other one is Julie Pacino's film, I Live Here Now, I think is the title. And she raised close to $1 million. And that's it. A lot of other people tried, but it's not easy. Like you were asking, was it easy? It wasn't easy at all. It was very unlikely. But a combination of things aligned, and we managed to make the movie. And then the movie did amazingly. It sold to Netflix in Spain and became the #1 movie on Netflix Spain for like a month, and ended up having a Goya nomination for me as Best New Director. That's like the Spanish Academy Awards, and a bunch of other things, especially, the Decentralized Pictures Award was a very cool thing also that happened. Basically, we completed the budget with an award of $100K from Steven Soderbergh through a post-grant that was done through Decentralized Pictures, and Steven Soderbergh became an EP in the movie. But going back to the difference in the models, in my case it was all donation-based, and that I think is an amazing model only for people who have incredibly huge fan bases, where basically maybe you're pre-selling the ticket, right? If you have 1 million followers who are all willing to give you 10 or 20 bucks, then suddenly you can make a movie, right? But most of us don't have 1 million people who will buy something from us, and so if you only have a smaller number, then probably a model like Republic, where you're treating these people as investors and giving them a stake in your movie, is far more sustainable.
While there's a difference in both the means of doing it, the primary thing that binds you together is that you don't have co-producers. Now you have a lot of backers who are invested in the project. I'm wondering, how does the relationship change between all of these people who are invested in the project, as opposed to having 2 or 3 or 5 co-producers for the movie? Does it make your life easy? Does it make your life difficult? Because technically now you have thousands of financiers.
That's a great question. And actually the context with Miguel is an OG right here. And I remember, in the peak of it, you innovating the model and innovating it correctly. A lot of people maybe did NFTs and stuff, and they were sort of like, let's chop a movie up into these frames, and trying to classify NFTs as revenue sharing instruments. And that was illegal. They got shut down by law. You were the most premium to have beautiful images and frames and NFTs that became genuine collectibles and part of a movement. And I think I came after you, and I think now that evolution, I keep telling Miguel, like, hey, how about on the next one, you actually now let them be able to make it an investment, because it wasn't as prominent back then. So I work on him, but it's a big inspiration, and same with your and Julie's film. And I hope that is the evolution. I think And I think then that relationship does change to that point. From donators or whatever to like, I hope this movie happens, to actual stakeholders, that becomes an incentive as well for the film. You know, the film can do better when you have this whole army of evangelists promoting the film. And actually, it doesn't always have to be about like creativity by committee. If anything, it's about a fan base enabling their filmmaker or creator to finally be able to make their film completely independently. It's the ultimate independence. You're outside of the studio model. You have your fans enabling you to do what you want, and then championing that success with less kind of fat in the middle. And so you don't have to like necessarily do like creativity committee. You can do distinctions as to what credits you want to give somebody if they invested a certain amount. But it does transform this movement into you're co-owning something together.
Can I add, I wanted just to say on that note, for me, I never promised or offered any sort of creative participation, and that was very important to me. You know, if I'm not gonna invite 680 cooks into my kitchen, and that's the point, right? Why I want to do it this way is because I can make the movie I want, and these people hopefully want to watch it. But having such a strong community greenlight my first movie was so important for me as a filmmaker, both like practically but also emotionally, I want to say. Like it gave me a sense of ownership of my own work and of confidence, and sort of cured my imposter syndrome, right? Because I knew that I was there because I had earned it, and 680 people believed in me and wanted me to make this movie. And even though they are not investors and they never had a chance of recouping their investment, and they haven't, I know a lot of them personally. I've met over the years, and they are so happy, and they're so proud of all the achievements of the movie once it got on Netflix, and they rave about this experience in all their parties. And so that's already in and of itself, it's a great thing, right? There's this element of wanting to support the arts, and they did, and they're happy that they did. And just to go a little deeper on this notion about ownership or not ownership, I said before that my model was similar to Kickstarter, and that's true, but it does offer a lot of things that are much better. First of all, there is no concrete way they can't participate in the revenue of the movie, but still they do have an asset that can potentially be a financial asset, right? So picture this. Imagine that in 40 years, I become the next Steven Soderbergh, right? And if you had supported my first film through a Kickstarter, maybe I sent you a signed poster. And now in 40 years, say you want to sell the signed poster of this new legend of cinema. Okay, how have you stored it for 40 years? Is it in mint condition still? Now, how are you going to sell it? On eBay, or you got to find an auction house to sell it for you? All of these things are friction and will complicate. So really, the poster is a memento, but it's not really an asset that can be turned into something concrete. Whereas the NFT that I sent my backers instantly as a representation of their support of the movie is, stored for free on the blockchain forever and can be put on sale in a click. And if someone out there wants to buy it from you, they can buy it in a click. And so it's much more frictionless. And so there is an element of at least a sense that you might one day be able to recoup some of your donation, and that's important.
But film securitization is a new asset class, and if I dare say, the next evolution in how film financing is done, correct? How do you look at this?
I do look at it that way. I mean, I think, and by the way, what you just made me think of on the other question, not a democratized creativity, but with Robert Rodriguez, he raised $2 million on our platform to allow for a new development slate from 2,000 fans, and every fan got to pitch him a film as part of the slate. So that's pretty cool, like the chance to do that. Eli Roth, he raised $6 million on our platform to start a new horror studio to make all those disgusting films the big studios don't allow him to make. And if you invested $1 million, he'll kill you on screen. So you do have like fun things like that where you can pitch and get involved. Yeah, we had $2 million checks in there.
Did you have to kill someone for it? on screen.
Yeah, that's what I do in the background is I help Eli kill the person. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is, if I think about like the creator economy right now, I was mentioning Markiplier earlier. Imagine how much more that film would have even done had their fans been stakeholders in it. I mean, if we look at AI technology, imagine if the next Squid Game is going to come out of some kid's basement using their own showrunner AI tools or whatever. And this time when it goes viral, they don't have to just wait for sort of a big studio to come and tap them and buy out all their IP and develop it. What if they toss a link out to all the fans and viewers and say, hey, let's make this together, finance it, license it instead, and own the upside? And even obviously YouTube is the new distributor, like I think there's a new sort of ecosystem and flywheel that this securitization or on blockchain, which you can call tokenization, is fueling.
I 100% believe what you're saying. Securitization of movies, characters, creator economy is obviously going to be the next biggest thing. But how do you, I'm sure you get hundreds of projects that come to you on a daily basis, right? How do you pick the correct ones? How do you not pick up somebody who's only here to quickly cash out?
Well, it's not about, I think it's about, first of all filmmakers want to finance their film. And Miguel was asking me earlier, like, am I the new gatekeeper? Like, in a sense, we want, it might be the greatest project in the world. It's no good if nobody's going to hear about it. It's not going to raise money. There needs to be a megaphone to the project, ideally to a built-in audience or community. So what I really look for at this stage, because you know how snobby our film world is, they're looking for something to fail or whatever, but we want these projects to really pop, demonstrate that a community can get something funded, and then from then, of course, we want this to be a platform where every filmmaker can come, list a project, and have those fans invest and co-own a piece of it with them. But right now, of course, yeah, we want, and we're incentive aligned here. We want projects that have a big community that we know someone will tweet to an audience of whatever, hundreds of thousands, a million, and say, let's make a movie together.
Miguel, AI is collapsing the cost of making movies today, right? New and new models are coming in. What it would have cost to do a particular thing in graphics is not going to be what's needed tomorrow. In your opinion, how does it change the way you're making films? What kind of impact is it having on your workflow? Does it make it easier for you, cheaper for you, or do you think it's just going to flood the market with stuff?
I don't know, really. I'm curious, a little scared. We'll see. I mean, I don't use AI that much as of today, and I haven't. Last film I made was Calladita, and ChatGPT didn't exist back then, so it's an entirely new world now. And I don't know. I don't have many answers, to be honest. We'll see. I tend to think that as long as people want to watch movies performed by humans, then I have a chance, maybe, if I know how to direct those people, but maybe not. I mean, like, I don't know. We'll see.
Let me then take this to Marc. Marc, everybody's a filmmaker now. Any creator with AI tools can do a lot of things. Do you see a lot of people coming to you at Republic to say, hey, listen, I can also make a movie? And why not?
Definitely, why not? I mean, like I was saying earlier, if you're using AI and you're making a film and it goes viral and it's really good quality, and you want to say, now help me make the full season or the full feature film, and there's this one kid, Wesley Wang, you heard of him? He did this incredible YouTube short and got picked up by Darren Aronofsky and Universal and stuff, and it hit a nerve with the Gen Z or whatever, Gen Alpha audience now. Great. I think AI is democratizing tools of production. YouTube is the biggest distributor now, bigger than Disney. Creators are the new celebrities. I mean, what is a celebrity now? Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise in their 60s, maybe a Timothée Chalamet here and there. Like, these creators and influencers have millions of followers who they're creating content for all day or selling a product to all day. Now they can invite them in to make art together and benefit. And on the investing side, on the financing side, that's hopefully where I come in. And just the idea of tokenization in general, if you're talking about like other innovation or cashing out, of course, like, yes, keep an NFT and hold it and sell it in the future. That is one way on the NFT side. On the security tokens, on the security side, we allow for trading of your share on a secondary market. So if you're investing in Roberts or Slate or Eli's company, you start to see the announcement come out about all the cool movies they made. Robert just made an announcement yesterday at Cannes. Suddenly your share in that Slate or company goes up, and you have we're a secondary platform to allow for you to trade out your share and send your kid to college from your film investment.
What happens to people in rooms like these and festivals like where we are at today, when in the next 5 to 7 years, everything moves to hopefully platforms like ours, right?
What happens to our...
To all the film financiers, all the studios that have been gatekeeping this. I'm going to pick on the word gatekeeper because, obviously traditionally, studios have been gatekeepers of how films have been financed. Right now, that's fully changing.
Yeah.
In 5 years, how big an impact do you see?
No, I don't see it as either or. I see it as like, look, film is, all some of the issues we're facing in the industries. This just becomes an additional avenue for financing.
Or you don't think it's going to fully change?
No, I think there should be a place for like, if you have a $10 million film, maybe that cost will go down with AI, and that's usually maybe a $4 million equity piece. You're still going to have maybe 2 private investors who believe in the film, but now the filmmaker can give up $1 million or $2 million to allow the fans in as well, to allow ticket or allocation to the fans. That goes to the same for any company or a celebrity launching their tequila brand, or a new, I have Ryan Reynolds in my ear constantly selling me his Mint Mobile on podcasts. Like, how much better would that do if, hey, I'm an investor in that, so I'm going to choose that brand or recommend it to my friends as well. So I just think it's about creating an allocation now for a new class of investors previously inaccessible.
Great.
Yeah. And mostly it's like a great thing for the people to be able to invest in things that were gatekept for them before, right? Why should only the richest get the benefit of being able to make their money work passively for them by investing it in private ventures?
Or why is it those guys only decide who the next David Lynch is or the next Napoleon Dynamite, Like, I think there can be an element of this green lighting.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. Miguel, last question to you. You mentioned Soderbergh was a co-producer in your movie. How did that come about?
So there is this platform called Decentralized Pictures. They have a booth right here. You should meet them. They are amazing. It's a foundation that was started by Roman Coppola and a couple partners. And it's a platform that uses the blockchain for community voting, and they have many different awards. And in my case, when I was imposed for Calladita, they had a live award that was called the Andrews Bernard Award that Steven Soderbergh was sponsoring. And Soderbergh was looking for a feature film that was imposed, and he wanted to give $100K to finish the movie and market it, etc. And I submitted. There were like 50 projects or so that were submitted, and then the community votes, and in the end, it was Soderbergh himself who chose a winner amongst the finalists, and he gave me the award in Sundance, and I got to meet him, and then he became a little more involved with the post as an advisor, giving me some notes on the cut, and accepted my invitation to become an executive producer, technically he has a presented by credit, but so the movie is presented by Steven Soderbergh everywhere.
What would you do differently for your next project? Would you get it financed on Republic, perhaps?
Yeah, Mark and I have been talking, and I'm excited about that prospect potentially. We'll see. I mean, I never hid from the start that the reason I did this NFT crowdfund was because the gates were close to me elsewhere. So I'm not against making my next films in a more traditional way. I've become a cinema finance disruptor by accident, but really I'm a writer-director. I want to make movies. Give me the money and leave me alone, right? That's sort of my motto. But if they are not giving me the money, then I have to find it myself, and I'll find it wherever I can, because my priority is making my movies. And so the next ones, we'll see. I'm exploring all avenues.
I think "give me the money, leave me alone" could be the motto of everybody's life. But Marc, final words, where do you see this? If next year we were to be having the same conversation on this stage, how different would our lives would have turned out between now and then, specifically knowing that blockchain and AI are possibly going to take over a lot of things in film financing?
Well, look, AI, I hope, is also opening opportunities and allowing more people to make movies. I completely agree. I want to be there as a tool so that the filmmakers can make, and we are an additional avenue of financing. Blockchain, schmockchain is like under the hood. You don't need to know how your Gmail works. It just has to work. Like blockchain is just the tools of like the infrastructure to allow instant transactions for when you invest and when you get paid out as a fan, when you see your movie on the big screen and a Burger King toy and a streamer here, whatever.
But also a super transparent ledger.
And,
like,
yeah.
you know, kudos where kudos are due.
It's transparency, efficiency, cost efficiency, and tradability. That's, of course.
And it's so important because if you're going to be a micro investor in something, to be able to have complete traceability of your micro investment and no opacity between you and the creators is so important, right?
It's all true, of course. But when we're talking to people outside of this innovation pavilion, we have to be very careful still sometimes that they don't go down the dark hole of thinking what blockchain is or isn't. But what I focus on is explaining that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, their company is called Artists Equity. We're audience equity. That's what we are. We enable the audience to have equity in a film. When you have that, it performs better, and we're an additional tool. And I hope that next year, we can be doing things together where it's, like I've sort of pointed out, the different parts of the ecosystem that perform better. There's no better fan engagement or audience engagement than to own a piece of an IP or a film or a revenue right than with your favorite creator or your favorite franchise. You have incredible films that you're working on as well. We got to plug the audience into these films, and I hope we get to work together too, because you're the OG and you have beautiful visions.
Thank you.
Thank you. On that wonderful note, thank you so much for your time for this panel, guys. If anybody has a question, we would love to take it.
They're recording.
Thank you. Hi, how's it going, guys? Thanks for your time. With the industry shifting and it becoming more localized, like localization within the independent sectors, do you see your platform like Republic helping build infrastructures like in Africa and like in these countries that don't have the tax incentives, or at least some of the like states in the U.S. that have incentives, but it's like you're not hitting that minimum, so it's like you're kind of SOL in terms of fundraising for your film. So it's like as opportunities arise, like through your platform with these lower budgets, they can be crowdfunded or community funded. Is that kind of like your direction where you're going with the platform?
Well, at the moment, because again, this is, we've talked for half an hour, like this is a mouthful. There's such a big paradigm shift in what we're doing at Republic. Treat us as a financier, not a producer. Like, it's the producer's job to take advantage of tax credits and other people to innovate in government. We just want to be there as a new financing party. We can even do debt financing against those tax credits. We can do P&A financing and stuff like that. Of course, personally, like vertically, I want us to integrate. As we build a community of investors, we could start to stream to them. We could start to produce originals, right? A distributor like A24 started picking up movies and they started making their own movies. And of course, we want to get there, but right now, I want people to know that we're just a neutral broker-dealer, actually, what we are. Yeah.
Yeah, and another little question, two little questions. First of all, you still have to, even if you go through the blockchain, you still have to build a community in some way. So you have to present small work, or I don't know, you have to sell yourself, I mean, as a creator or stuff. And the second question is, you're talking about audience equity. Equity means you share all the revenue straight from the movie. So how did it happen at the end of the day to live as a creator, as a producer, main producer? If you share everything, how can you make a living out of it? I mean, it's...
Well, I think you think of us as just another individual investor, except now it just doesn't have to be one person. We sit on the same equity pool or cap table. We sit as one entity, but we represent thousands of now micro investors into that. So it's just another source of that equity investor that would be there, and who helps to finance the budget and pay the fees, the creator salaries.
And if I'm not mistaken, normally the setup with these micro investors is similar to any kind of equity partner in the US, the typical 120, right? So you would get your money after the 120, and also the fees, I guess.
give us the same deal you would give to an individual. It's just now more people can participate in it.
And to your first question about community, maybe it was more directed to me. In my case, I said before, there's only 2 movies that have been financed with NFTs. One is Julie Pacino's. She had a bigger community than I did, and she has a a bigger name than I did. So really, there's only one crazy guy out of Spain who managed to do this with no real name or track record, and so it's me. And I've tried to understand myself how the hell did I do it, right? It wasn't easy, as I said, but I tried to know what did I do right that others didn't. And the main thing was understanding niche economy, which is similar to what you were asking a little bit about localization. The internet has become so much a place for niches, where niches really work. And in my case, so it all happened a bit serendipitously, but really I was just a struggling filmmaker trying to raise my first feature when I came upon NFTs by accident on Twitter, and I started to become fascinated with NFTs and the revolution that was starting there, the creator revolution of that. It's too long to explain, but basically what happened was I wasn't like a value extractor that came into NFTs thinking, oh, these people have money, let them give me their money so that I can make my movie, which is what a lot of people did at the time and failed. I was already immersed in that community of NFT degens, as we were called, or as we called ourselves. It's crazy people who were trading NFTs and collecting. So I was one of them. I was collecting NFTs very actively, and I was a member of that community, and I spoke their language, and it was genuine, just saying, hey, I want to make this movie, do you want to support it? It was very much like, we're going on a great adventure together. This is going to be the first movie funded with NFTs. Do you want to join? And I was lucky that I spoke their language, and I understood this niche, and I didn't try to get my rich uncle to buy their first NFT. I didn't spend any energy selling the notion of NFTs to anyone outside of this niche. I only tried to get this niche of 50,000 people in the world who were buying NFTs very actively at the time to support my movie. And it worked because I spoke their language and because I didn't make crazy promises. Like Marc was saying, a lot of people started promising equity participation and they got closed down by the SEC. They were doing something illegal, and I understood the legalities of it, and I understood that I couldn't say, you're going to get rich from this or anything. I was, very humbly saying, help me make the movie, and hopefully the movie will be good. And so when it was good and it ended up doing well, they were very happy.
Sorry, can I? What's interesting about that is if it had been art and you had an NFT, that NFT representing a fractional ownership could have been more okay, but it's because movies give dividends and royalties, that's what becomes a security. So,
if I understand it correctly, it's also because the artwork doesn't exist yet. I think with a song, you can sell shares of the song that already exists.
When you're tokenizing a library of IP.
Only a library, not a specific
If you're
song.
a security, if you're giving money back as an investment, it's a security. But if you're owning an asset, I don't know. Better not go there. Better not go there. You're right. Oh, and the last thing, actually, talk about localization. Here's something that I would answer, actually. My dream would be if Richard Linklater or somebody could make Dazed and Confused 2 and put QR codes all around Austin and invite the city of Austin to own a piece of Dazed and Confused 2. Or if M. Night Shyamalan invited the city of Philadelphia to co-own and invest in one of his movies because he does them all in Pennsylvania. So if you're talking about things like that, I love that. Anyway.
On that wonderful note, thank you so much to both of my panelists for being here. Thank you.